Yes, that was a little one. The little one's great. He sleeps in, pretty decent sized chunks. 3-4 hours, so things are broken. But no, he's good. Life's good. The older kids are super helpful, so pretty nice. Wow.
Weird, huh?
Very weird.
That was our life.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for asking though, Don.
I was kind of curious.
Yeah, it's a full house.
Oh, I could just imagine.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Thank you. We just try to pour it on,
You can tell me when to start.
You're in here. That's 6:01.
Good enough. We'll call the meeting to order of the Coburg Planning Commission. And it's February 21st, 2024. Instead of doing a roll call, we'll go around and everyone just give us your name and that will be our roll call.
John Derby.
Ernie Bainey. Jim Bell.
Seth Clark. John Marshall.
Do we have
Megan Winter.
Thank you, Megan. Do we have a quorum?
We do. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Agenda review. I have an agenda dated January 17th. One of those dates from the ill-fated ice storm. Public comment. Do we have any tonight?
We have not received, nor has anyone signed up for public comment this evening.
As we had talked about in what seems a long time ago in fall, we are going to do a brief review this year of some of the past Coburg planning that's taken place. And as part of the commission business, we're going to do introduction to comprehensive plan goal 1 and 2 that Coburg submitted. I did want to briefly cover with you, I got my notes from grad school from 40 years ago. And the instructor was very preoccupied with British law and how it had a major influence on American law dealing with land. So some of the things that shape all the stuff that we'll be talking about in the next year, of course, is the U.S. Constitution and in the amendments. Another important consideration is Oregon Constitution. And then one of the things that I hadn't realized until grad school many years ago was the importance of case law and court decisions, jury and judge decisions relating to land use law going all the way back to 1787 when the Continental Congress and the Constitution got started. So federal court and case law, both here and in Washington, D.C. are very important. Many of the issues that we struggle with, like controlling growth, have been dealt with in federal and state laws, and they carry as much weight in many respects as the Constitution. Lane County has land use planning and it has a land use plan. We, to some degree, try to fit in with what the county has already said. And then there's Oregon LCDC and its goals, which is one of the things we'll cover tonight. Past practice is also thrown into the notes. That just means often sometimes subconscious understandings about what property and what you can do with property means. Sometimes it's not even covered in writing. It's just stuff that's gotten passed down almost as tradition since basically British colony time. So I'm going to stop there with the 5-minute lecture on where we are. So for instance, if we said no more growth in Coburg, that would be great. Except there are some negative consequences to that. One, the courts have ruled consistently over the past 100 years that you can't say that. And one of the economic findings is that when a city or a state restricts growth, say for instance, housing or the number of new units that can come in, the unintended consequences over the span of 10 or 20 years, property values plummet because there's no growth taking place. So one of the factors we deal with is economic as well as the political and the legal framework. Coburg has to grow, but it should be managed or mitigated as best we see fit. Will we ever become part of Eugene? My hypothesis or guess is we will not. We are blessed with having 3 miles of farmland and gravel pit between us and city limits, and that buffer may protect us from being taken over like other neighborhoods have closer to town. All right, Megan, I'll shut up now. Why don't you go for it?
That was fantastic, Chair. Thank you so much. That form our local comprehensive plan. Our local comprehensive plan is then acknowledged by DLCD, and then we use the policies of the comp plan to create zoning regulations and our development code. And that is how we implement our comp plan, which implements the statewide planning goals. DLCD reviews the plans. Any revisions or updates must be reviewed to make sure they align with the statewide goals. The plan is said to be acknowledged when LCDC approves it. The plan then becomes the controlling document for land use in the local jurisdiction. Yes, Chair.
Quick question. DLC, whatever it's called this week, reviews our comp plan. Does the Lane County, do they have any input?
I think that we would send out an agency referral to them when we made amendments, and most certainly we would want our comp plan to be compatible with the county's comp plan. I don't know the answer to, I don't think that they formally acknowledge it in the same way that the state does. So comp plan is familiar with DLCD and LCDC.
I'd appreciate it if you.
You want to go through them a little bit? Okay. So DLCD is the Department of Land Conservation and Development. Very, very similarly, LCDC is the Land Conservation and Development Commission. So that group is more of the decision-making body, whereas DLCD is the state department. Does that make sense? Okay. So the comp plan, as it's informally called, has 3 main elements: an inventory of local land use and resources, Goal and policy statements that indicate local objectives over a specific period and guidance on how to achieve those objectives. And a detailed map that shows the desired use for each property throughout the entire jurisdiction. Goal 1 of our comp plan is citizen involvement. The LCDC goal is to develop a citizen involvement program that ensures the opportunity for citizens to be involved in all phases of the planning process. Public involvement is a required part of land use planning in Oregon. This requirement is one of the things that makes Oregon's land use planning program unique, and the requirement for public participation is written in the first goal of 19 in the statewide land use planning system. Because Oregon recognizes that effective public involvement is key to the successful implementation of land use plans. It is no accident that the statewide planning goal with top billing, Goal 1, requires local agencies to meaningfully engage public in the land use planning process. Under Goal 1, government agencies are asked to provide for widespread public involvement in all phases of the planning process, to provide for two-way communication between members of the public and decision makers as plans are prepared, assuring that responses to public inquiries and input are provided, and to make technical information available and understandable. Goal 1 calls for the opportunity for citizens to be involved in all phases of the planning process. And the goal also calls for local governments to have a committee for citizen involvement. The acronym for that is CCI, to monitor and encourage public participation in. So if you notice in the Coburg Comprehensive Plan, there is some reference to the Citizen Involvement Committee. And that committee is indeed the Planning Commission itself. So the Planning Commission fulfills the requirement of our citizen committee from the state. And so there's sometimes a little confusion there. I just want to make everyone aware that you as the Planning Commission are the Citizen Involvement Committee. Are there any questions? Did anyone have questions about our policies in the comp plan? I can through them. I don't know that that's necessary or helpful. If not, we can move on to goal 2.
Quick question, there's been a huge amount of case law in the past 40 years in Oregon about citizen involvement in general and transparency in government. Are they linked at all, or is this sort of a separate parallel track?
They are linked. Yes, I would say they are linked. And currently, thank you for bringing that up, because Citizen 1, Goal 1 is currently being updated at the state level. And that is because the means of engaging with the public have really changed a lot over the past several decades. Publishing in a newspaper is not really a relevant way to notify the public anymore. And so citizen involvement is changing as our world and society continues to change.
Are we required to mirror state goals? 1 through how many? I don't know, 13 or 14?
Yes. There are a total of 19 statewide planning goals, and our comprehensive plan must address each one that is applicable to Coburg.
Pretty much mirror what the state wants.
Yes, to show, that is how the city shows that we are in compliance with the statewide planning goals. So that's why I kind of, if you can see on the slide, the first statement is the goal from the state. The way this is laid out in the comp plan is it's the goal from the state at the top. Next is the Coburg objective, and that's backed up by a number of Coburg policies to support that objective, which supports the goal.
State has their own CCI, is that correct?
That is correct.
Is that what it is for this area?
I think that it actually just did a turnover this year. I know who our rep was through 2023. But I do not know if she is still in that position or if that is something that once the term expires, they renew.
What is their function to us in regards to Coburg?
I do not have a really good answer for that. I think that their objective is more providing citizen input at the state level. I don't know that we actually interact with the state's citizen advisory committee.
Can't give them some feedback.
Yes, yes. Well, I think, like I said, once the terms expire, it is open for participation. So Commissioner Marshall, next time if I see a vacancy, I'll be sure to shoot it your way.
I can provide.
Great questions. Thank you. Okay, we ready for goal 2? Goal 2 is land use planning. Goal 2 requires each local government in Oregon to have and follow a comprehensive plan and implementing regulations. So that's the second piece I talked about, where we have our local comprehensive plan backed up by our zoning code and other ordinances. Implement the comp plan. Cities and counties must build their comprehensive plan on a factual basis and follow their plan when making decisions on appropriate zoning. City and county plans must be consistent with one another. Chair, that gets back to the question you first asked. Special district and state agency plans and programs must be coordinated with comprehensive plans. Comprehensive plans must comply with the requirements of each applicable statewide planning goal. The Land Conservation and Development Commission reviewed each city and county comprehensive plan for compliance with the goals, and when found that the plan as a whole was acknowledged, the plan is approved. We already covered that a little bit. Except for federal and tribal lands, every square inch of Oregon is planned and zoned.
Is that going to be tribal land eventually?
That is, I do not have an answer for that property. But technically that property is currently within our zoning, the city of Coburg zoning regulations. The comprehensive plan and zoning ordinance are the guiding documents for local government and land use decisions. They help create predictable outcomes for the people that live and operate business in the community for the development of homes, stores, and industries. Comprehensive plans also guide public development, streets, municipal water, sewer, and parks, and the conservation of natural resources. So here in the comprehensive plan are LCDC goal is to establish the land use planning process and policy framework as a basis for all decision and action related to use of land and to assure an adequate factual base for such decisions and actions. The Coburg objective is to establish the Coburg Comprehensive Plan as the basis for preserving and enhancing the livability of Coburg. And that is supported by a variety of policies, as well as the different types of land that are in our city limits. The Coburg Comprehensive Plan. Yes, Chair.
I have a question. In the past, there have been numerous complaints, noise complaints from residents on Rustic and Shane Court about industrial activity just to the north of them. When this was formulated, why was no buffer overlay or buffer zone between heavy industry and residential put in place?
I don't have an answer for why that boundary was not given a little bit more of a buffer between uses. It's not altogether uncommon in other cities as well that you will find residential and industrial a little more close together than maybe ideal. It may also be that there was different industry taking place in the zone at that time that wasn't creating the same type of nuisance that we are experiencing now.
That's really light industrial zone. You don't really have any heavy industrial.
Correct. Light industrial, we don't have any medium or heavy industrial.
Would the banging at midnight be classified as heavy industrial?
Well, I think there are several issues with the banging at midnight that have a little more to do with the nuisance ordinance, perhaps than our land use type here. But there are protections in the zoning code that speak to new industrial uses. There should be, I believe it's a 25 buffer between a residential use as well as different screening, landscaping, other types of visual and audio buffers.
Megan, I have a question about policy 1 under goal 2. States that the city of Coburg shall conduct a review of the comprehensive plan every 5 years, or deemed necessary by the city council. What would trigger a review of the comprehensive plan? And are we at the 5-year limit to where we have to review it, or?
Yes. As a matter of fact, the last time it was updated was in 2018. And so we are nearly on schedule for our 5-year review. It's important to look at the document every 5 years or so because it's an evolving document and the relevancy is going to change, kind of like we were talking about what makes sense for citizen involvement today versus 20 years ago. The living document allows the city to be, I don't know if nimble is the right word, but able to adapt to changes that make sense for the community and the community's vision.
It would seem like a review of the plan would be something expensive, I would think. I'm not sure what's all involved in reviewing the whole plan. And what part does the planning commission hold do we take?
Yeah, I can't speak to how it's been done here in the past. I could certainly look into it for you if you'd like some more information. And we can talk about what you would like this review of the comp plan to look like.
Well, it would be great if we could figure that out, because if we're gonna spend some time on it anyway, we might as well count.
Absolutely. I kind of anticipated we might capture some recommendations for when the next amendments do take place to the comp plan. Perhaps not that this review in and of itself will trigger a comp plan update, but that they will happen simultaneously because there will be an update to the comp plan required as part of the climate-friendly equitable communities rulemaking. I believe that's not for several more years that that update will take place. Is everyone familiar with our different zoning districts? Okay, great, great. Well, that is all the more I had on my slides for you this evening. I would be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Dumb question. Historic district, do you have a map that shows the historic district?
I can pull one up real quick.
Seems like it's the central business district, pretty much, right? Okay, yeah, it probably goes into over to the east. Yeah.
Or we can do this another time then. My question was, I know that I live on Abbey and I know somehow Abbey is part of the historic district. And yet Abbey didn't exist until 1990. And I'm wondering how it got designated a historic district. Before that, it was a farm, and before that, a log pond.
Perhaps the log pond? I
Yeah.
do know that the district was established in 1986, so I think I got it. So this map came from I think it was 2000, okay, there we go, 2020. The city did what is called a reconnaissance level survey, which is an update to the historic district. So a consultant came in and assessed each one of the properties that are named within our National Historic District and made the stroll booklet that is available out front as well. So there is a actual full report available on the Coburg, Oregon website. I can email it to anyone too if you're having a hard time finding it or if you're interested in reading, but it's kind of hard to see that legend. But the brown footprints that you're seeing are not in period. The blue dashes are not contributing. The yellow, which I only see a couple of, are eligible significant, which means that they would likely be able to stand on the register on their own. And the eligible contributing means that they are significant enough that they are contributing to the district as a historic district, but probably wouldn't meet the criteria to be on the historic registration themselves. At least that is my understanding of what those terms mean.
Well, unless there are any further questions about goal 1 and 2, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, and that's city administrator's report.
There, if I could, I got a question.
Sure, you bet.
How will the state legislature and how they're be handling this affordable housing thing and adjustments to the urban growth boundary for the purpose, if in fact for development of affordable housing? How does that, how are we going to adapt to that? Do we know anything about it?
Are you speaking about the bill that is currently in the legislation? I believe there is a population threshold, and I believe Coburg would be exempt from that.
I think it's 5,000.
That sounds right. It's usually either 5 or 10. Other than that, I am not familiar enough to speak to how Coburg is going to.
And we're exempt, but would we take steps anyway? We do that with our transportation system plan. We're exempt from that if we so elect, but
It's possible. I really don't have a good answer to that. I think that's something we'd probably have to get staff would get direction from council on whether that was a priority and something that the community wanted to pursue. I'm also, like I said, I'm just really not that familiar with what it allows for. So there are a couple different factors at play that I just don't have a good answer for that one right now.
Megan, I was just curious, the improvement that ODOT's making to the northeast corner of the interchange there, it looks like gravel storage area or something.
Yes.
Is that something, did they approach Coburg with that and say, this is what we're gonna do, or?
Yes, they did. It's actually the property is located outside of city limits, so they did not need to contact us, but they did, and that is a salt shed.
let's go through are kind of easy.
It's a very good place to start.
Yeah.
So next, goal 3 is agricultural lands, which I think the commission can have a robust discussion about what that means for Coburg. That has been a barrier. It's also, I think, part of the community's identity that we're really proud of. Right? The agricultural history here. Yeah, so I'm not sure what else will be on the docket for our March meeting, but at the least we will begin covering goal 3 and potentially goal 4.
Will you have hard copies of that document for us?
I most certainly can.
I would appreciate it.
Would you like a copy of the whole comp plan?
I think it'd be, for you, it'd just be easier, wouldn't it, to do one at a time as we go through them?
And one,
Oh,
when I take this one, you.
Okay, yeah, I prefer a hard copy anyways.
If anybody else wants a hard copy, I'll have it ready for you.
I already have a hard copy.
Thank you.
For some reason, I got one too.
Yeah.
I think I've given one when I first.
In my closet.
Yeah, that's.
Has there been any, I don't know if there's been any updates to that company? Have we in the last, say, 2018 is the last revision we did?
Yes, the last updates were 2018.
There was a question at one of our recent meetings about why is there some properties on Vintage Way that are not within the city limit?
Would love to know the answer to that question.
Okay.
Same thing applies. The end of North Alana.
Mhm.
Yes, the north notch there is a little. I don't have any idea where that came from.
Follow up with that. When can you make adjustments to your urban growth boundary? What's that process? To take care of something like that?
To just clean up, like we missed half of the street. We're not sure why.
That's a good one.
Say the same thing with, road on the other side of, freeway.
Van Dyne.
Van Dyne, why can't we just push that right into, push our boundary to the north, urban growth boundaries north, so makes it easier for us to annex that into the city. The whole process that we get county out of it, I would think.
I'm not sure if there is some type of expedited process for when it was something that looks like a mistake or a Scrivener's error was made. But typically a UGB expansion is a very long process that requires a lot of analysis and looking at different areas where growth might occur. A lot of factors go into that. And Coburg's city limits are the same as our urban growth boundary, which is not something that you typically see in a city jurisdiction because that means we have no more land to annex. And so that is why we were pursuing the grant for the buildable lands inventory, which we did not receive, but we are still prioritizing that project and thinking about other ways to get that done. Because those are, as Chair opened with, this is how we kind of want to mitigate and control what the future of the community is going to be.
It'd be interesting. I've asked this question of the county, how they did it for Beltline. How they adjusted the urban growth boundary for Beltline, get it inside of Eugene, so they can expand, so they can do that improvement to Beltline, Delta area.
I believe they sought an exemption from goal 12, which is transportation.
That one way that you improve change your urban growth boundary here. Get an exemption.
I think theoretically, yes.
But we were looking at that when process.
Yes. So the exemption process is something I really don't know enough or have experience with to try to explain it any better than what I'll say right now, which is cities and other jurisdictions have the option to seek an exemption from one of the statewide land use planning goals, such as Commissioner Marshall is describing, where the city of Eugene was able to move forward with the development of Beltline by moving it inside of their urban growth boundary. in what was considered an exemption to goal 12, which is transportation.
Basically, it was. And build road for urban needs outside the urban growth boundary, allowed.
So next item was the administrator's report. We don't have an administrator, but we do have a report. Should we just read that through, or do you want to make a presentation, or what's best to do?
And typically, I provide those just for information only. The one piece I think was relevant, especially for our work here, is that Coburg will be participating in our Regional Transportation Plan Update, also known as the RTP. And the congestion management plan. So those plans are something that is required as part of our involvement with the MPO and are required to be updated every 4 years, I believe it is. And so that was some of the planning department update from this month's city administrator report, is that we will be kicking that process off for an RTP update in this year. And I believe that'll be adopted in 2025.
One more dumb question. Some people in town have asked me periodically, what effect has the ADU change had on town? And I just shrugged my shoulders and really don't have any statistics or numbers for them. Is there a way sometime down the road we might get an update as to many people ever followed through on that?
Yes, I can absolutely provide those numbers and that information. And just anecdotally, I can say now that, that I think we have seen an uptick in the ADU development, accessory dwelling unit, for those of you who don't know the acronym. But the code was amended before my time here, I think somewhere around 2017 maybe, to encourage the development of accessory dwelling units. And I think I've seen a handful each year. And so
Nothing. Hundreds, no.
no. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Maybe 5 in 3 years.
Pretty modest.
On your, one of your slides, that's what definition of livability is. You don't have to show the slide, it's all right. I still like to, if I go back to the property on the other side of the freeway. The fact that, you know, there was a lot of process done or conversations, things taken care of, so the idea was, those in Coburg do not want or did not want another truck stop within a mile of the one we already have. Now, by chance, if the Cow Creek tribe do turn that into tribal lands, are they exempt from our zoning? The idea was that to not have another truck stop was in our livability, if you will. See where I'm going with this?
I do. And that is something I think we, if the time comes that I will defer to legal counsel. I am not comfortable speaking on tribal lands or their rights.
I'm just kind of curious.
I kind of think,
They can do anything they want.
I don't know the answer to that.
Not even sure what the legal definition of tribal lands is, whether it has to be tied to ancestral documentation or you just buy somebody's property and change it. Yeah. I know the Gaming Commission and Commission on Indian Affairs in Salem is dead set against any new developments of casinos in the state. And the other tribes would fight it in court. So I suspect long-term lawyers are going to get very wealthy on that question, and we'll see. But it could take 5 to 10 years to hash it out. So, in answer to your question, no one knows.
Well, you see the concern.
Yeah.
Here you had the citizens concerned about the livability of Coburg, and that's one of the reasons that it was decided that there would not be another truck stop.
And then there would be,
And
ODOT would be involved with traffic studies, and that would add another layer of complication. And then there would be city utility issues. So it would, well, instead of 5 or 10 years, 15 to 20 years to get through the hoops.
worry about it that much.
I'm showing my ignorance here. So where is this tribal land and
Okay, on the far side of the freeway, there were 4 to 5 acres where the old hotel, circular hotel was from the 70s. That land there and that old restaurant, that property was sold a year ago, 2 years ago to the Cow Creek tribe who purchased it, just like any other buyer. Right. All right. Ruins, yeah, the ruins of the old hotel, and the old hotel used to have tennis courts. That was part of it too. And right now it's derelict buildings and pavement and nothing's going on except vehicle storage.
Burrito stand.
Yeah,
Best burritos in the county.
I second that. Absolutely. But yeah, and there would be a huge set of hurdles for utilities and ODOT and gaming. I mean, it would take 20 years to clear all the hoops, do anything big there. They used to be on a well. When the hotel was there, they had their own well. That's no longer viable. So they would have to get an extension, I think, from the city to serve them. So they're, and I can just imagine if it did get developed, how bad the traffic would be on the interchange. So that is something we probably should monitor periodically.
Is there any more conversation around and I might have missed it, so forgive me, around the light industrial behind it or to the east of it?
Kind of just a pending for interest. The developer, the owner of that property was working through some processes to get it ready for sale, wetlands delineation and that kind of work. So I think it's about there where it will be ready to start looking at some economic development or recruitment type. And there have been some conversations with our economic development specialist at the county level, making them aware that that property exists and will be ready at some point in the near future. So it's definitely on the horizon. We don't quite know when, but it's coming.
And that will be a master.
It will be a master plan development. Yes.
We're going to do that, hopefully.
Yes, that is our goal.
that brings up an old question I have. Where Premier RV is now zone highway commercial. I mean, years ago, there was issue that a good portion of those motorhomes basically are permanent residents. What's that? Seems like there should be some designation change or something.
I don't have a good answer for that one either, Commissioner Bainey. It's a great question. I don't know I actually don't know off the top of my head if that would be an allowed use under the current highway commercial or if that's grandfathered in, but I know that we also have Camping World in town in the same highway commercial zone. So I think it is, I believe it's a permitted use within the highway commercial zoning district. Whether or not the city has the authority to tell people how long they can, I don't have a good answer for that one either, but I do know that you are correct in that there are a number of the units there are permanent residents.
I think even some of the children are going to.
That may very well be, and there was some discussion during the annexation of that light industrial land about a buffer zone to the residential, because although that's not zoned residential, it's very clearly a residential use, and so are they not afforded that same buffer? So that'll be stuff that the planning commission is looking at when that development application comes in.
A certain ratio or percentage of the spaces are considered permanent and the others are transitory or transient. And so the property owner tries to have this mix to get within the parameters of the city by having transient versus permanent residents. I don't know what that ratio is, but I know there is one. Seems like the permanent resident. Right, exactly. And you would think it would have an influence on the whole tax base structure over there. Mayor RV paying taxes. They do. Property, or then you got individual homes, you know, right? Yeah, I know, if you look at fire calls. Large number of fire calls over there because there are some people in the transient area who can't afford hotels while undergoing treatment, his health, so they go there and then they run into medical problems. Other questions, observations, thoughts? Goal 3 or 4 next time, right? An exciting new plan.
Depending if we have anything else, I think at least goal 3.
If there are no other questions, then I am open to a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second. We are done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, Megan.
So, question for you.
Yes.